Hello, and welcome back to the Making Fire podcast, a podcast where two longtime besties talk about their favorite TV shows, The Traitors, this episode specifically. Oh my gosh, and we're covering two episodes in this one.
Right.
So it's our last Traitors coverage episode.
Full coverage, yes.
Yes. But
We'll do it. We'll do little ins and outs.
Well, of course. But this sort of Survivor starts next week.
Right.
And this is a Survivor podcast, but
right. At our core.
At our core. But before we jump into this episode, this extra special episode, Riley, how are you?
I'm doing so amazing. I want to talk today about the war that I had to fight the other week.
Oh, you're back from battle?
Back from battle after trying to secure Cowboy Carter tour tickets.
I was gonna ask you about this.
So everybody, if I can be transparent, I have been saving not for the last couple months because it started bubbling that Beyonce was gonna announce her tour. The original date I heard was in March, and so I sort of projected. I said, you know what? I'm gonna save $700 is my max that I can sort of provide for myself for this experience. And that might seem like a lot to some people, but Beyonce is somebody that I really love. And Cowboy Carter specifically was my top album of the year. And so I was like, it is worth it to me to pay for this experience. So I was like $700. I saved up my money. I signed up for pre-sale after the Grammys. It was going to be great. We're a part of my mom, my sibling Rowan, and I are part of Beyonce's fan club. So we got earlier access than even the pre-sale access. Rowan was at school, so then it was up to my mom and I to secure Rowan and I tickets. Mind you, if you guys don't know, we're not a Beyonce podcast, but if you don't know, Beyonce's going on a tour, but she's only hitting a certain amount of cities. No cities in my state, so I am going to have...
in the states surrounding.
Right, so I am going to have to fly. And so then that sort of came into my budget a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to pay for a plane ticket.
And hotel.
Right. Well, but, my mom travels for work, and so she racks up crazy points with Hilton.
Okay.
I think that's the brand.
Okay, Paris.
And so she just has points, and so sometimes when we go on like little weekend trips, she'll be like, I can just use my points. So it was so nice. So our hotel is fortunately covered. And Rowan did have the pleasure of, this is going to go ahead and be Rowan's graduation gift. So Rowan's
seems to line up that way.
It usually doesn't it? And so I have to I'm paying for my own way. I work for what I got. Okay.
Right.
It's okay. My family's going to see this. None of my family ever watches this podcast, so it doesn't really matter. So we go into fan pre-sale, so excited. I was like, I'm gonna get our budget, did get put down to about $400, because my mom was like, that is my limit. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I was like, $400, maybe that'll get us. I was expecting $700 will get me on the floor, $400, maybe that's first level, second level. Because the rumor I had heard, all rumors, that the ticket prices were going to be ranging from $70 to $800. Was sort of, that's what a range that I had heard a while ago.
Okay.
So that's
I want to hear this play out.
So that's how I went into this thinking. I was like, I'll get floor tickets with $700. I'll first level $400. We go ahead and get into the line. We get in. We were so excited. My mom and I did a little countdown. It was really thrilling. Get in. Why was the nosebleed seat gonna go ahead and be about $500? Now, mind you, this was for the opening show in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because that is sort of the most accessible show to me. And Rowan and I came to the conclusion, if we're going to LA, we got to go big. We got to go to the opening show.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, wow. And I went, is it even worth? I looked at my mom and said, I don't think And I, as much as I love Beyonce and I love this album, I don't think it's worth it for me to spend $500 on nosebleeds. My mom, we bought tickets for Renaissance, and we were in 300 level, and it's not in LA, but in the stadium closest to us, and we paid $250 for those tickets.
I was gonna say, even for Billie Eilish's tour, when I saw her a few months ago, we literally had the last row of seats before we got moved. That's a whole other story.
Right.
And those were like 120 a piece.
Right.
For the very last row.
Right. So that was going to go ahead and be, it was about $400 for, SoFi Stadium has a 400 level. It's going to be about $400 for the 400 level. And I looked at my mom and I said, we'll have to talk to Rowan. Poor Rowan was texting me during all this. Did we secure tickets? Did we secure tickets? Oh. I'm sorry, bestie. I hate to tell you.
Maybe there's no plane.
Not secure ticket. No. Baby. No. So we came to the conclusion that we were going to wait until general pre-sale opened up. Mm-hmm. And hope for the best. And so that's what we did. I don't know why the ticket prices did not go down, but we the Beehive was talking on TikTok and Twitter and said SeatGeek is where it's at. Get your tickets through SeatGeek, and that's what we did. And we got tickets in the 200 level. For my ticket was just under $400 for the 200 level.
How does SeatGeek?
And that's sort of what I was wondering. They have a full money back guarantee. And so it's a trustworthy. I was like, is this trustworthy? And people were like, yes, it is extremely trustworthy. And I was like, okay. But my mom and I's conspiracy is that the arena or whoever probably sells SeatGeek a bulk tickets at a cheaper price, since they're buying a lot of tickets at once, and then they resell them at a discounted value since they buy them in bulk, is sort of our conspiracy on how it works. But then also, I have already seen people, we're like a week and a half, 2 weeks post like pre-sale date, or week from it. And I've already seen people trying to sell their tickets. They're like, I bought tickets and I can't go, or I bought tickets not knowing whether or not, and I'm not going to be able to. So it could just be people reselling tickets that they bought. They weren't expecting, or maybe they were looking at multiple venues or multiple days, and like one friend bought them for one day and the other friend bought them for the other, and it just works out for the other day. So like, I don't know, but we got our tickets.
That's so exciting.
And we bought our plane tickets, which I also had to pay for my plane ticket, so clog that tea. But no, it's okay.
Meet up at the Beyonce concert.
Yeah, everybody hit me up. It'll be so excited. So I won the war. I lost the battle, but I won the war at the end of the day.
Yeah, you did. And under budget.
Right, and so
your max was 700. So like
exactly.
Girl math. Not even.
No, exactly, girl math. No, literally, 400 for my 400 for my concert ticket. I paid $150 for my plane tickets. Mm-hmm. So I'm still under budget. I still have 100
points for those. Are your miles credit card?
I don't have enough miles yet, but we are using the airline that I have my. So I am getting multiple points. Let's just say that. And I put Rowan's ticket on my card too, so I got points for Rowan's purchase. It was great. But yeah, I'm super excited. I'm gonna meet up with former
Beyonce.
roommate. Well, not unfortunately, no. Maybe we'll get selected. Maybe she's selecting sort of special VIPs from the 200 level. Beyonce, if you're out there, we're gonna be in about section, I don't know, 2. We're on the right side. I don't know. Anyway, meeting up with Kellen.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're in LA, Kellen, and his boyfriend. I can say it now. They have officially publicly posted about it. So, Kellen and his boyfriend, we're gonna meet up, and we're going to go together. We're not sitting together, but we're gonna like hang out together. It'll be so fun. I'm so excited.
Kellen got tickets too.
Kellen did get tickets. So it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be an adventure. I'm so excited, and yeah.
That's so exciting.
I know.
I'm so happy for you.
Maddie, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good. We're in the new house. Oh, he's sort of barking a little. Anyways, Frank, you were sleeping this whole time, and then
I
now he
know.
wakes up. Anyways, in the new house, in my new office
Ooh, I don't like
setup
when he's standing up at the bed, like,
space.
because I know he's standing up right now, and I know he's about the same height as me. Like, if I were standing next to him, I'd be eye to eye with him, and that scares me a little bit.
And now that we have this bed in the background, I think Frank will probably be joining us on most episodes. I'm excited to decorate this sort of situation. Maybe I should get like a funny background, like of Jeff Probst. I don't know. I bet they make
Maybe.
those. Oh, really? He has this full bed.
Maddie, who are you talking about? There's nobody in the room with you. Are you seeing things?
Anyways, yeah, I'm so good. I've just been so busy. I'm quite tired. But we're moved into the house. You're not looking at hot pink walls, courtesy of me spending hours painting, which is really fun. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I'm done with apartment living, and I'm so happy about it. But you know what? That apartment served me well. I loved my little office closet. It was kind of crazy when we took all our stuff out. I was like, wow, this really was unnecessarily large and took up so much square footage of space that you really couldn't even use. There wasn't even racks on both sides. It was just whatever. But anyways, I'm just excited. It's such a good time. Riley and I were talking about this. There's so many TV shows out right now. Everything is so good. Everyone needs to watch The White Lotus if you're not already.
Right.
Traitors is so good. And Survivor starts next week.
I know.
Okay, but should we get into this episode?
We got a lot to cover.
We do got a lot to cover. So we'll start off with episode 8. How exciting. I also managed to avoid spoilers. I watched this only like yesterday. Which is a week after it came out. And
I
so
watched
was
it
very
last
proud of
week,
myself.
so I'm glad you're a little fresh on it, because
I figured if I was going to be covering it, I wanted to be fresh on it.
Right.
Was also my thinking. So anyways, let's get into it. We open on the people up for the face-to-face murder in the church. And we get a little bit peek of their outfits and that crazy setup. But then let's quickly get on to breakfast to see who was murdered. People are talking about how happy they are to have Boston Rob out. And Gabby tells the group that sort of how it worked in the church was if you saw Alan when you turned around, you were safe. But if it was the traitors, you were murdered. Just some things to note here. I love that when everyone else comes into the room, people are happy and cheering, but Tom walks in and is met with eye rolls from everyone else. This was Tom's episode, by the way.
It really was, yeah.
Tom says that he saw Alan's cool, trendy shoes, which this just took me back to one of the craziest moments on Dance Moms when there was the iconic final Abby and Kelly fight, and then Abby's sort of on the phone with the police, and she's like, yeah, this woman like assaulted me, she has like this cool trendy haircut. And that lives rent free in my head. Cool trendy haircut.
Get one of the Dance Moms on Traitors.
Oh my, okay. Before this season, everyone thought that Chloe was going to be on it because she went to the Traitors Castle.
I remember that.
And then she just did a Q&A on Instagram, and people were like, are you ever going to be on the Traitors? And she posted a picture of her at the castle and was like, oh my god, I would love to. Get the Dance Moms cast on the Traitors.
Girl, like the girls are old enough. Get them on there.
Yeah, they're all our age.
The moms are
In their
insane.
50s. And
Get them
awesome.
up there.
I
Dr.
need-
Holly as a faithful.
So good. I need any of them on there. I want Kathy.
Oh my god. Was Vivian get them both in there? Because
Come on, go on my mom's wing. I hope I can still dance.
Right.
Yeah, the mother-daughter duo.
The mother-daughter duo. Do some tapping.
So then we have Carolyn come in, and they ask her, Carolyn, what was Alan wearing in the church that night when she was?
Mind you, Sam came up with this plan.
Yeah,
We sort of had a
speak it up.
We had I was like, wow, Sam, spoiler alert for episode 9, Sam showed up for approximately 48 hours and made sure those 48 hours were the best 48 hours for him.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this came out of nowhere, I felt like.
He said, let me cook. And
Right.
then they got rid of him. But yeah, so he's like, let's ask the people who come in who were up for murder in the church what Alan was wearing to see, like, let's find a traitor. And Carolyn is sort of struggling to remember what Alan was wearing. But Tom quickly pipes up and is like, no, 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 remember he was wearing this. And everyone's like, you just missed the whole point of what we were doing. And they even tell him, they're like, shh, no, 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 no. And he's like, guys, what? It's Tom Sandoval's world and we're all just living in it.
Gabby kind of backs Tom and Carolyn up too. Gabby was like, no, remember? It was like,
yeah.
like black. And Carolyn was like, yeah.
Yeah. But before we have the final person, we walk in to see if Dylan or Chriselle was murdered. Oh, before we see who was going to come in, we cut back to the church and get the scene that Chriselle is no longer with us. R.I.P.
Girl, she had no reaction. She turned around and looked at Carolyn and
said,
Danny, and she was like,
yeah.
She wasn't giving me anything anyway. I'm like, girl, I was already frustrated with her the episode before because of voting at the round table. I was just like, girl, like, whatever.
Yes, girl, give us nothing.
Right.
Yeah, so goodbye to Chriselle. And we hear from Danielle and Carolyn explaining to her that she was too faithful, so she had to go. And we see Chriselle in her coffin, and she says she can see how Danielle is a traitor, but has zero suspicions about Carolyn.
Mm.
Then Alan comes in, says Chriselle is dead, and slams her picture on the ground and gives a little, I don't even remember what he said about the challenge, which I'm so excited to talk about. But we'll just move to after breakfast. Tom is thinking about everything and everyone and looking for some new theories. And we have Sam telling a few people that it's now time to revisit the coffin theory. Enough time has passed. And it's time for Sierra to go.
I'm like, what?
The only other evidence, in quotes, that they have against Sierra is that she voted for Brittany alongside Boston Rob and was the only one to do that. Sorry, I have the hiccups. And then we also have Sierra telling Gabby about how she thinks Brittany or Danielle or both of them are traitors with how strong their alliance is.
And I think it's hard because I'm like, they really don't have any other, like, it's hard to conjure new evidence in a game like this. So, like, I can't be mad that they're going back to the coffin theory, but I'm also like, that was so long ago.
Exactly.
Like, a lot has happened, and that's the only thing you can pin it back to is this coffin theory.
Right. It's hard to watch at some points, but also, like, I recognize we're not there and we have all the information.
Right.
But let's get to this challenge. They split into two teams. One group of 5 goes with Alan, and the other group of 5 stays at the castle. The group with Alan, one person has a chance of winning a shield. So the premise is, Alan has a creepy doll from his great Aunt Mildred. And so there's so many dolls from Aunt Mildred that Alan had to put this creepy house in the woods for them to live.
As, like, logically, that's the next step.
Right, exactly. And so the group that goes with Alan has to find 4 dolls that are singing a nursery rhyme backwards in this house, but there's other dolls and other things in the house. So on the House in the Woods team side, they find the dolls, then they have to sing the backwards tune into the phone that connects to the people at the castle. On the castle side, they have to get this tune and then go sing it into this, like, gramophone thing that's going to play it forwards. And then they have to guess the song, the nursery rhyme. And if it's right, then they get $5,000.
The most convoluted game of telephone you've ever seen in your whole life.
I also had to pause multiple times to make sure I was getting this right, because it was kind of hard to track at times. So on the team that is going into the woods, we have Tom, Danielle, Ivar, Sierra, and Brittany. And they're sort of the ones doing really the legwork at this challenge. We get to the creepy house. And there's a clue to one shield in this challenge. So these dolls in this house are so creepy. There's weird things written on the walls, like "help me." Some of the dolls say like really just crazy stuff, and also a lot of them spray water really hard. Like it was not just like a little squirt. It's like they were leaving soaked. Like you could see on Brittany's like the back of her coat, like her hair was all messed up. Like she'd been shot with this thing. So they also
diva down.
They also only have 30 minutes to do this, and they spend over half of the time looking for the shield first, which Sierra does eventually get.
It's crazy that they did spend a lot of time and then nobody was able to like figure it out.
Right. Yeah. They sort of had to just like give up and be outside.
Right.
So Tom really carries this challenge. Tom is really the only reason that they got any money because he is the most musically inclined of the group, as he says.
He believes so.
He believes so. He's a great singer. Which is funny because at one point they cut back to the castle and Gabby's like, that is a terrible singer who's doing that. But Tom gets really into the challenge and the singing and musicality of it more than anyone else. So he takes on the memorizing the backwards songs to relay it into the phone. And everyone else was making fun of him, but I'm like, at least he's doing the challenge. Like,
right.
He's over there in the corner, like, memorizing this tune, and everyone's laughing at him. That was the point.
That's what you have to do.
Right. So, they end up doing it. They really get down to the wire, but I just had some questions. So, 2 of the songs were Row, Row, Row Your Boat, and then Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Have you ever heard the Muffin Man song or Three Blind Mice?
Do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man who lives on Marbury Lane? I don't know Three Blind Mice.
I guess maybe I have heard the Muffin Man song, but that's not like one that I ever have.
I mean, nursery rhymes, what are the classic nursery rhymes? WAP?
Oh. Did you say WAP?
Yeah.
What's the one?
If they put
Little
Skylar
Miss
Sisters
Muffet
from
sat on
Hamilton.
her Tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Oh, Jack and Jill went up the hill.
But it's all the same. That's the thing, is it's the same cadence forever. I'm like, there isn't.
Yeah.
Jack and Jill went up the hill. Row, row, row your boat. Like, it's like dun, dun, dun,
Little Miss
dun.
Muffet sat on her Tuffet, eating her curds and
The
whey.
itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout.
Do you think they have all those songs in Scotland?
I'm sure they could have Googled it.
Anyways.
I don't think Scotland's living in decades behind us.
I just loved this challenge. I thought it was so fun and funny.
The challenges are so unserious. I'm like, really, there's no setup for these. Like, they're in a coffin. They're in a cabin in the middle of the woods. Like, there's nothing. It's not extravagant like a Survivor challenge or a Big Brother challenge. It gets really, and they're taking 30 minutes out of the day to do it.
But I also love they're getting so much better because they were so bad the first half of the season where I was like, this is so pointless. But now I'm like, okay, I'm actually entertained. These last 2, like this one and then the one before where they're getting like dumped on and stuff, I was like, okay, this is fun. Anyways.
Can I say real quick, my favorite scene from the challenge, at one point, Tom is at the phone and he yells at Ivar. I forget what he says, but he's like, Ivar, go back inside, or like stand. He was like, Ivar, stand here and wait for them at the phone, and I'm gonna go back inside and get the next doll ready. And so then Ivar is standing at the phone, and Alan looks at Ivar, and Alan's like, what are you doing? Why are you just standing here? Mind you, Alan just saw Tom yell at Ivar. And Alan's like, Ivar, what are you doing? Why are you standing here? Go back inside. Don't let Tom bully you, is what Alan says to Ivar. And Ivar's like, yeah, you're right. And then goes inside.
I want to know what's going on in Ivar's head this whole time. Nothing. He's there for fun.
Adds nothing. I'm like, why are you here?
What? Maybe now that Sam is gone, eventually, like, Ivar just needs his time to sort of put everything together in his head and start sharing with the class.
He should have been taking his time and doing that.
Yes. So, after the challenge, it kind of goes by pretty quickly. A lot of people think that Sierra is a traitor because of the coffin theory, and then Danielle and Brittany dynamic is also brought up, and there's lots of little conversations happening sort of between everyone, but I wanted to bring up one specifically. Sam tells Ivar and Dolores that it's going to be Sierra unless she has a good defense, but like against the coffin theory. How are you supposed to defend yourself in that?
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to say? This has been absolutely beat to death. And what is she supposed to say?
Because, I mean, the theory in the past would have been, it's not me, then it's Nikki, right? Like, that would have been, right? And then Nikki gets voted out, so it's like, okay, well, and they say, Sierra says this after Nikki gets banished. She's like, I fully have a death sentence now. Like, there's no way for me. If you're talking to someone like Sam who is fully convinced about that, like, what can I say? You're right.
There's
like,
nothing you can do.
No, there is nothing.
So that just kind of upset me.
Yeah.
Like,
how is she supposed to fight back?
Like, what do you mean unless she defends herself well enough to satisfy you in this? Like, there's truly nothing she can say. So
satisfaction.
Oh my gosh.
Throwback.
Just Dance.
The place where I work has been updating its playlist on a weekly basis, and that we're getting a lot of like 2010s throwbacks, and I'm living for it. Yes.
That's fun.
We're the old people now. We're one of the target audiences.
Speaking of 2010s favorites, Lady Gaga's new song, Abracadabra, is
Abracadabra, amor, ooh la la. I literally, my vocal sim after the Super Bowl was Abracadabra, Abracadabra.
My favorite comment I saw on TikTok was like, Lady remembered she's Gaga.
Right.
Recession Pop is back.
Right. Recession Pop is back, honey.
Yeah. Anyways, let's just get to the round table. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
Okay. So Sierra starts off by saying, there were no traitors in that coffin that night. Please, like, what do you want from me? And then Ivar pipes up and he's like, well, there are other theories out there, such as one of the traitors is most likely a girl.
Ivar hates women, and I'll say
He's on the girl hunt.
He is on the hunt for girls, and not in the way you think.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. So now this is also something that's going to carry on into the next episode as well.
Yeah.
Is everyone's like, I mean, like, are they
Does it
wrong?
make sense? No. I mean, yes, it makes sense, but like,
that's sort of all they're going off. And Tom Sandoval has an iconic moment where he sort of says, women are better cheaters, and everyone is like, wow, Tom, did you really just say that? And he's like, guys, I said traitors. I meant traitors. Guys are more likely to cheat. We know that. And
I think Sierra's
like, Tom, you would know. Women are better cheaters. Tom Sandoval.
That means if we weren't recording covering 2 episodes this episode, I'd want to go more in this Tom Sandoval renaissance that's happening on social media right now. Yeah. A lot of people have shifted. They have 180'd on their opinions on Tom's. A lot of people are like, he's just a silly guy.
See, here's my problem is I don't know enough about Scandival to speak on it. This is really my first impression of Tom Sandoval.
Right.
And I'm not disappointed.
He's definitely giving me reality TV.
He adds and we'll get more into this next episode and like his behavior at that challenge. But like, I just love what he's adding to this group.
Right.
So much. It's so funny. Anyways, and like, how do you even say something like this? So
girls are just better cheaters than guys. I mean, like, that was written, that was scripted, that was too on the nose.
Right. Brittany also brings up how Sierra was the only one who voted the same as Rob at the last round table. And then Sierra brings up how Brittany has been laying low, which makes her suspicious. And also mentions that the last person that Jeremy was suspicious of before he was murdered was Danielle. Danielle defends herself by saying that everyone that has been killed was close to her, so she had no reason to murder them. Ultimately, we get to the vote. And people are still hung up on this coffin theory. And Sierra's comments as she got into the coffin, which I'm like, okay, but that was drama. That was reality TV.
And I feel like she's proven at this point that that is just who she is as a person.
Yes, like they have gotten to know her better. And she's banished unanimously.
Which is so... I hate when that happens.
Yeah. At least there were no throwaway votes. But it was really... She was going home.
It was sad. And I like Sierra too. It was and then obviously she's proven to be a faithful, and it's just like everybody's kind of shocked.
And
they're like, wow, we really
just did that.
Yeah, for no reason, really.
Yeah. And I guess if they were so like this coffin theory thing, if it was really still lingering in their heads like that, they should have taken care of it episodes ago.
Right.
Like they just sort of let her hang out on borrowed time.
Right. We just kind of messed up.
It is messed up because there's nothing she could have done at any point to make them know that she wasn't a traitor. So yeah, after the round table, everyone is feeling like crap for voting another faithful out, and Tom is talking with a group, and I think Carolyn was there, and he's trying to keep it on the DL that Sierra was the one that went home with the shield. And others are like, yeah, it would have been like a waste if like, you know, Sierra was the one to get it because she was going home anyways. I'm like, oh, interesting. And Dylan is feeling more suspicious about Danielle at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get to the turret. And it's really interesting watching this and then immediately watching the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just over one of them. And their name rhymes with Schmaniel.
I knew you were going to say that, but I have to stand strong. I have to.
Next episode, you can say whatever you want about Carolyn. That was what we're doing. This episode, okay. So Danielle and Carolyn are faced with the option to either try to recruit another traitor or commit another murder. And they start off by discussing whether or not Sierra actually had the shield. And basically, that's also a point of contention because Danielle was telling the truth. Carolyn was fed wrong information that it wasn't Sierra. Anyways, Alan walks in and presents them with their choice. Now, I want to know, what would you choose?
Okay, if I was in their position, okay, the thing is, I feel like it would have been, I don't know, because I think it would be beneficial to recruit somebody, right? But I think Carolyn is right in this scenario. It doesn't benefit Carolyn to have Brittany in the turret. And so I
want to get into that.
And I think it's right. Like, that makes sense. I'm like, okay, Carolyn, you're making sense here. And so then where I would go to next is like, okay, well then who can you take in, right? Because then for Danielle, it doesn't make sense to have somebody like Gabby in the turret because Gabby and Carolyn work so close together. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, okay, those two people are off the thing. And like they don't really like Dolores. Like they wouldn't recruit Dolores. They don't want to recruit somebody too close to them. So then that takes Dylan off the table, and then you're left with Ivar and Sam and Tom. Nobody's gonna want to work with Tom. I mean, I guess you could get Tom in as a shield, but
he was the only one that I think I would consider, to be honest.
I think out of all the options, it's like it would be like Tom or nobody, because then Tom is a perfect shield for both of them. But then like but they're so separated that it would, if I was the other one, it would worry me having an extra person, because who knows who that person is going to side with.
I would not want to bring another traitor in. Like,
yeah, I just don't think
they've experienced.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have enough connection to bring anyone else in.
And that is putting bets on the fact that this person actually says yes, because then what
Exactly.
happens next episode and the everybody's there and they're like, I was trying to get recruited, but I said no.
Yeah.
So
I would choose murder almost every day of the week.
yeah.
Get those numbers down. So, yeah. Danielle wants to recruit Brittany. And Carolyn... See, this is where I get annoyed. You wanting to recruit your very obvious closest person in this game when Carolyn... You guys have a rift. Like, whether or not you've been mending that relationship or whatnot, it's fragile. So I think just at face value, attempting to bring up to Carolyn, your other traitor, that you want to recruit your closest ally, that is the number one way to be like, why? You know what? I actually don't trust you. Because why would you even say that?
I feel okay. What I'll say is, I think Carolyn's emotions are valid in this situation, and I think her response is valid and probably is the correct response. Like, it's not beneficial for Carolyn to have Brittany in the game, but what I will say, I've just been going back and forth because I'm like, okay, I get where Carolyn's coming from right here, but then also Danielle has been trying to put in the work the last couple episodes. Ever since her big blow up where she did the first time she got caught, Danielle has been putting in the work and has been trying to rebuild her relationship with Carolyn. So that's where I can give Danielle her flowers, because I'm like, okay, no, she is putting in the work. And Carolyn is being a little too narrow-minded in the fact that she is always feeling like she's going to be backstabbed. But then I flop, and I'm like, okay, but that response from Carolyn is also valid, because why would you want to rebuild trust with somebody that has who started something before you? Like, Danielle threw Carolyn's name up before Carolyn even thought about coming for Danielle, right? Is what it all comes back to.
Yes.
And so...
Oh, you go, sorry.
I was just going to say, so, like, I get where it's coming from, but I've been back and forth. And then even in the turret right here, which bleeds a little bit into next episode, is that then I started getting annoyed with Carolyn, because Danny kept suggesting all these people, and Carolyn was like, no, we can't. We can't. And so then I was like, okay, Carolyn, I was on your side. Like, I fully understand why you don't want Brittany, and I think that was the best move for you. So then Danny was like, okay, we won't recruit, we'll kill. And then Danny listed like 4 people, and each of those people, Carolyn was like, we can't. I'm like, okay, then if she's willing to budge, why can't you budge just a little bit?
Yes. I think from maybe Carolyn's perspective, like, we see that Danielle has been like actually working on not throwing Carolyn's name out and working together, but I think it would be hard to tell what is genuine from Danielle when you don't know her and she is like constantly pulling theatrics.
You're like constantly hearing something else from other people.
Yes. And like, I think it would be really hard to trust her, and like, I don't think there's a way for them to come back from that. Just like at all. And so I understand where Carolyn's coming from in that. And I also see like why Danielle was confused about it. But I feel like it felt like Danielle obviously really wanted Brittany to be recruited. And like, the second she does that, the trust is broken again. And I feel like Carolyn just broke down and was like, okay, here we go again. And then like wasn't wanting to work with Danielle at that point on who to come to a consensus to murder. Like, I think I see both, but I like feel what Carolyn was feeling in that moment. Like, okay, this is done.
It's interesting. Do we want to start bleeding into episode 9 now?
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting in this moment, though, is there is a dynamic shift between them where Carolyn really stands in her moment, stands in her power, and she's like, we're going to make this happen, right? Like, I'm going to sort of take control this episode. Yeah. And I think what has been working oh my God, I touched my mic and I thought it disconnected. That would have been crazy. I think what Carolyn was working so well for Carolyn with her being ignored by everybody was that she's been able to float through.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't had hands on any of the decisions the Traitors have been making. Like,
Yeah.
for a long time, it was Bob making the decisions, and then Rob sort of took it over. And then, like, last episode, they didn't really have to make a decision because it was kind of made for them.
Yeah.
So they haven't, like, Carolyn hasn't been having to make these really intense decisions, which I think was the most beneficial thing for her, because nobody could see Carolyn as a traitor because her blood wasn't there. There were no fingerprints from what was been going on. Like, nobody could trace what was happening back to Carolyn because Carolyn was just letting it go. And obviously, we see one of the biggest falls from grace this episode from Carolyn, which is so sad to see.
And it's hard because it was like her doing.
Right. And I think that's because as soon as she got her hands on what was happening, people were instantly able to pinpoint what was going on.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was an accident. Obviously, and this is the Danielle from Big Brother I know. She was able to masterfully create for like the last 48 hours. She was basically able to create this sense of not trusting Carolyn, which ended up working so well for her by the end of the episode. But I think the dynamic is interesting. Unless we not forget, at the end of the day, the root of the problem, say it with me, Boston Rob. Boston Rob is the reason this is all happening. It always comes back to a man.
Yes.
A man
pitting women against each other.
Exactly. I'm like, without Boston Rob, none of this would have happened.
Yeah. If Boston Rob wouldn't have gone for Bob the Drag Queen.
Right.
Then this whole can of worms.
Right.
Not only would it have, like, sure, it might have come up later at some point anyways, but it would not have started that early on and, like, manifested so deep within Carolyn and Danielle.
It's so deeply rooted at this point. Like, obviously, we see this episode, there is no coming back from it. As much as Danielle tried to make amends, as much as Carolyn tried to turn the page, it just was not going to work.
No.
So, yeah, we leave the turret, talk about murders, and we enter on breakfast. And it's interesting seeing who's left. I can't believe there's this little people left already. Like, the game is coming to a close, which is interesting. Like, this is a very, one might say, unique group of people left.
Yeah.
The last two people to arrive are Dylan and Sam. I was heartbroken over this. I said, one of my eye candies are going home. This is...
Well, I did want to point out,
are
we going to talk about, I don't know, maybe it didn't come up yet, but when Carolyn and Danielle are debating on who to murder, we get crazy shots of Dylan and Sam.
Oh, I didn't see them.
We got
of
Dylan. He was like, I don't even know how to explain it, like pushing himself up on something, but like this, and like physically his whole body was shaking, and he's like shirtless, and it's like dark. And also Sam had a funny working out one, but I was like, these shots are actually insane.
I was eating dinner while I was watching the episode and taking notes. They were eating. I was eating it. I was eating pho. I was eating them up. I was obsessed. I'll have to sort of bookmark that. Do you sort of know what time that happened at?
No, it was really early on though, because it was the first thing that I wrote for the notes for the next episode.
I'll have to go back and maybe observe that.
They were crazy.
Love that for them. But those are it's between. It's between truly. It's between Sam and Dylan. Sam goes bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Nothing moved. It was quiet. Crickets, none. Oh, it was crickets. There were crickets. It was silent. I was like, okay, Sam had a good 2-episode arc. He had really nothing for the rest of the season. Good for him for showing out before he got offed.
Yeah.
Alan walks in. Okay. I'm usually down for Alan's fashion choices. I'm usually fully committed to the bit with him. This episode was very interesting for me.
He walks in Valentine's Day.
Right. He walked in wearing a gingham suit. Red gingham print. Like picnic blanket print.
Yes.
That's gingham, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes he wears a kilt, sometimes he wears pants. He was going to go ahead and wear a skirt over the pants.
Yeah.
And
Would you say it was Gangnam Style?
crickets, nobody moved. You didn't even let me get to the best part of the outfit. He had a slick back pony. A slick back, it looked like this on his head. Did you see that? It looked like this. Can y'all see my finger? This was his pony. This is what it was giving. I whip my hair back and forth. I whip my hair back and forth. That's what it was giving. I was like, this is a really interesting look.
There were risks taken.
Risks were taken. One might say it was very unique. A lot of unique things going on this episode. Everybody's shocked. Sam goes home. Blah, 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 bye, bye, bye. Post-breakfast, Dylan is catching on, people. He knows somebody at this point is keeping him in the game.
Yeah.
He's like, there's no reason I should still be in this game. So somebody I'm close to is definitely a traitor. And last episode, he was starting to suspect Danny, and it's creeping up on him. He's like, who's to say? Tom is still on the Dolores train. He says, I don't know, man. Just weird stuff with Dolores keeps happening. And all the strategic momentum that Tom had been building up the last couple of weeks is gone at this point. I'm like, girl, get it together.
I'm actually curious to know more about this theory.
I want to know what is the beef between Dolores and Tom.
Yeah. Because
we have the actual game going on. They got a whole other thing going on. And they know, you know what? They know something we don't know. At the end of the day, they know something Dolores and Tom, they know something, y'all. And trust and believe, we will figure it out in a couple episodes. It will be brought back. Yeah. And our minds are going to be blown. It'll be an exciting moment. It'll win them their next Emmy.
Right.
Third consecutive Emmy. Danny is starting to plant the seeds already.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Does she go by Danny on Big Brother? Or is that a nickname that you came up with?
I think people call her Danny.
Okay.
I just write Danny in my notes, y'all. I'm sorry.
I
do think wondering. I don't. I very much like she is known as Danielle Reyes, but I do think people in the house reference her as Danny. And
I feel like in Traitors they all say Danielle.
Okay, I guess I'll just start saying Danielle. Let me hold on.
No.
Can you give me 5? No, I'll rewrite my notes. Give me a second.
If it doesn't say Danielle, I'm gonna say Danny.
Can you just cut real quick?
Welcome.
Danielle, early in the episode, is starting to push this idea to people that all the past traitors at the round table have been aggressive. And all of the eloquent, sort of soft-spoken people who are speaking logically have gone home. Mm-hmm. And they've all been faithful. And so she's starting to push that. And I think this is really smart because she knows the odds of Carolyn having an emotional outburst at the round table are high. So I thought that was really smart, and I was seeing it. I was feeling it. Mm-hmm. We'll just go through it. Gabby tells Dylan that if she was a traitor, she would have 100%, 1000% have gotten him out. Have you been seeing Gabby's TikToks?
Oh yes, I follow her.
Oh, so good. Gaggy, obsessed with her.
I need her on everything.
I need her on this podcast.
Yes.
Gabby and Dylan are thinking about flipping on Danny. The wheels are beginning to turn. And we very quickly in this Danielle, you can
call her Danny.
The narrative of the episode very quickly on, we're getting set up as a Carolyn versus Danielle showdown this episode. Like this is when it's going to happen. Dylan tells Carolyn that he feels that he's being dragged along by Danielle, which is music to Carolyn's ears. She's like, oh great, people are starting to feel it. And I do think this is funny because Danielle is the one that wanted to keep him, and Carolyn was the one that wanted... Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Danielle wanted to kill him, but Carolyn wanted to keep him. But Yes, because in the round table, Danny was like... Or in the turret, Danielle was like, let's kill Dylan. And because Carolyn kept shutting everybody down. And then Carolyn was like, no, we need him in the game. Is right? Or do I have that reversed?
Well, because that's like Danielle's number one, and I don't think she would have been okay with killing Dylan.
Maybe I have my notes wrong. Something is wrong here. Anyway,
One of us is wrong.
Yeah,
And we're not going to find out on this podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Brittany and Dan, we have a really emotional scene with Brittany and Danielle.
Yeah.
They are reconnecting. They have reconnected. Brittany says that she cannot play this game without Danielle. And Danielle has a confessional, and she's afraid of having to break Brittany's heart. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? No, you gave me the hiccups. You had it, now I have it. We were watching this episode, and I was watching with my sibling Rowan, and Rowan said that Brittany gives them Uncanny Valley vibes.
I see it. Maybe because she's blonde.
Maybe. Ooh, it's those blonde white. So let's get to the challenge. Last night, we're told by Alan, the Traitors were asked questions about the remaining players. The players have to guess what the answers are. If they guess correctly, then they get 5K. We also hear at this point that there is there's a new power coming up that we have to be thinking about. I already know what the power is and what it does because it's the same exact power that they used on the UK.
And it was in the promo for next episode.
Right. Yes. So it's an interesting power. We'll see how it plays out. We'll get there in a second. The Traitors have to be careful, though, because they know the answers to all the questions. So you kind of have to act in a very specific way.
Yeah.
It's interesting, spoiler alert for UK Traitor season that just aired and the US season. Interesting, Carolyn ends up going home this episode as a traitor. And I do believe a traitor went home on this exact challenge in the UK season.
Carolyn really got caught up in it. This was her downfall.
Yeah. Kate and Parvati are back.
They're there to look pretty.
They are there to look pretty.
She's got a little headband on.
Of course she does. And
Alan even has his little headband on.
Another sort of interesting fashion choice from Alan. I was like, what a fun, silly headband. With the chess pieces sort of glued on.
He's trying to hit all holidays. First was giving Valentine's, this was giving Halloween.
Right. What was he dressed up as?
Spooky. It's more of a vibe. Not like
famously when you dress up for Halloween, you don't go as a specific character. You sort of go as a vibe.
He said so just go for spooky.
This week on the runway, I'm wearing spooky.
I'm wearing spooky. Yeah. What you showed me from that one drag race?
Oh, Dracula?
That was more than spooky.
Next off season, we're going to be doing a recap of Dragula. Y'all get ready. It's going to be crazy. Kate and Parv are back. I kind of lived for the fact that they were just there to give commentary.
Yeah.
For themselves and us. They didn't interact with the contestants basically at all.
I thought they would be like included in the challenge.
Maybe
somehow.
They would be, sort of hosting it a little bit. But they kind of just sat there and watched. Mind you, they have no idea about the dynamics of the game. They don't really know who any of these people are. The
Efron brother.
Kate pioneered that. Friend of the pod, Mike Bloom, got burned alive on Twitter by Derek for it, but Kate was doing it months before Mike even thought about it.
Yeah.
So they kind of just stood there. They were kind of like the two old man Muppets that sit up.
Right.
What are their names?
I don't know. Hold on. You keep talking, I'll look.
That's what they were giving. They were giving the old man Muppets watching the Muppet Show. Those are going to go to be Sesame Street. Bert and Ernie.
No.
The gay ones.
Oh, Statler and Waldorf.
Right.
They're kind of us.
If you think about it, in a way. So there's 4 chess pieces with 4 different questions that were asked. We're first presented with the snake. The snake, they were asked, who is slithering under the radar? Who is slithering under the radar? The Traitors decide to pick Brittany because that night at the round table, Sierra, before she left, had said that Brittany has remained under the radar. And that is who the group goes with, and they get 5K. So excited.
I want to know your answers to these questions. Like, who would you pick?
Well, I think it's an interesting question at first. I think when you have a question like the snake, I think the question should have been who is the biggest snake in the game, not who has been
Yes.
slithering under the radar.
Yeah.
The question should have been who's the biggest snake, but who has been slithering under the radar? Honestly, I would probably have said Brittany, because Ivar has been talking at the round table. Tom also has. You could say
feel like Gabby's
Dolores,
been kind of
Dolores
under
or
the radar.
but Gabby has had a lot of theories. She's started a lot of theories. I don't think Brittany's done a lot of like theory starting. I think she's done a lot of theory participation, as one does.
I'd also say, yeah, I don't know. That one was, I didn't like that question.
Yeah, I wish it was like who's the biggest snake and not who's basically.
That is a juicy question.
That is a juicy question.
Who would you say is the biggest snake?
Left, I don't know. Maybe Tom. Maybe like
Tom, answer for all
Dylan. If
the
you think about it,
questions.
Dylan has voted out a lot of his closest allies.
I
even
was
though they
gonna
were
say
traitors.
Dylan.
So maybe I would have said Dylan. But the next step is the skull, and that is who is the biggest threat to the traitors. And this is where we start seeing Brittany's game at hand. Not Brittany, oh my god. Danielle's game at hand. Brittany ends up being the answer. Danielle, we start seeing that Danielle is setting Carolyn up. Danielle takes a step back in the turret and lets Carolyn come up with the answers herself. Carolyn says that they should make Brittany, because Brittany is probably the biggest threat. And Danielle's like, sure. And lets her do it.
Also, it's like, do you not want them to win money? Why would you pick the same person as the answer 2 times in a row?
Right. And the group is like, the group is trying to figure out who they should put. Tom throws himself in the mix. He's like, I don't know, guys. Like, I've been coming up with stuff. I feel like I'm the biggest threat. And
I don't know, guys.
They're like, I guess, if that's what you think. And so they put it on Tom. And ends up being Brittany again. And everybody's kind of gagged by this. Brittany specifically she's thrown off by it. And we hear Danny. Danny says, this is perfect. Brittany would have never suspected that I was the one that did this. Because I don't think she's my biggest threat. So why would I do that?
Yeah.
So Brittany's never going to think it's me. And she's kind of right, at least for this episode. Like, it kind of goes through how she needs to go through. The next up is the wolf, who is the leader of the pack.
Tom, obviously.
Obviously, they pick Tom. And they start the group of players start thinking it's Dylan. And that's where the majority of people are going. But Carolyn is like...
And this is where Carolyn shot herself in the foot.
She was like, I really think it's Tom, you guys. Like, I think we should do Tom. And kind of nobody else wants to do Tom. She's the only one being vocal about it.
Because why would it be Tom?
That makes no sense. And then, obviously, it ends up being Tom. And everybody's like, what is going on? Like, are the traitors throwing this? This makes no sense. And we see a confessional from Dylan. Dylan's definitely he's been paying it, like, he's also been quiet. And he's been observing what people are saying. And he catches on to the fact that Carolyn went hard. And then at the end, Gabby was like, oh, maybe we should have gone Tom. You know, Carolyn was really pushing Tom. And Carolyn was like, I wasn't pushing Tom.
You sort of were.
She sort of was, and you sort of were the only person doing it.
Besides Tom himself.
Right.
Which is basically not, like,
okay, that's a normal Tuesday in the castle. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So then she's like, and I think this was her second big slip up. She was like, I was not pushing Tom that hard. Diva. Yeah. Diva Dupree, I need you to lock in. Last up, we have the mouse. The mouse is whose voice is the most irrelevant.
And this was strike 3.
She picked herself. Because she feels like nobody listens to her.
I would have picked Tom.
I also would have.
Or Ivar.
Yes.
Either of them.
And they pick, and she kind of convinces everybody. She's like, nobody listens to me, guys.
Why is this giving coffin theory?
You know.
Putting herself in there.
Bob the drag queen on his own podcast had a really great point about Carolyn. And he was like, at what point are you've played 2 of these reality games and you were a grown woman. At what point is the problem that nobody's listening to you versus it's the way that you talk? Like, it's the way that you bring up things. Like, nobody's listening to you because it's you, or nobody's listening to you because it's the way you present ideas. Is that sort of what's happening?
And I think up until this point, no one's really, like, needed to listen to her.
Right. But it's not because, like, she's not being ignored. I think the question, who is the most irrelevant, is somebody who is providing bad takes constantly, or somebody who is just not giving information.
And that's going to go ahead and be Ivor or Tom.
Right. Carolyn puts herself up, convinces the group to go for it, and
also they're like, okay, like,
if that's what you think.
You think you're irrelevant?
Right.
Imagine they're like, no, you're relevant. Tom isn't.
Tom, we actually don't fuck with you at all.
And we actually don't care about a single thing that comes out of your mouth, but you talk anyways.
Ever. Like, we are shocked that you're still in this game. Shocked.
Why is it giving Gabby?
It is giving Gabby. Get Gaggy on the podcast now, everybody. And they end up leaving the game. They end up leaving the challenge with $10,000. Super excited. They Danielle set Carolyn up bad. This is Big Brother 2 Danielle at work right here. Dylan is sussed out, and we go back to the castle. Post-challenge, there's a lot going on here. It very clearly is being set up that it's going to be Carolyn versus Danielle. Dylan starts it hot on Carolyn. He's like, the evidence is damning. Like, it's there.
Yeah.
Carolyn is starting to wonder, was she set up the way that the challenge went about? She was like, damn, did Danielle really just let me get run over by the bus?
Like, she just fell into Danielle's trap.
Right. She's catching on a little bit. Ivar is sus on Danielle, and Carolyn is egging that on. She's like, we need to think about this further. I think at this point, both Carolyn and Danielle, at this point, we'll get in a second, we'll get into it. Carolyn and Danielle are doing a good job at being very subtle about the way they're approaching this.
Yeah.
Compared to, like, Boston Rob, when Rob wanted to get Bob out. Rob
on a rampage.
Rob went to every single person. I also learned from Bob's podcast, the reason Bob wasn't there, maybe I talked about this, was in therapy. Or not therapy.
Yeah.
Bob was seeing the psychiatrist, or the therapist.
Yeah. And then walking into the round table and
right.
the boot
and just was not expecting it at all. There's a lot going on. Did you see on social media, Carolyn and Carson are no longer doing their podcast together?
And then followed each other.
Right. They most recently posted an interview with Brittany about the season, and they deleted that video off of their YouTube.
Yeah, I saw people speculating that maybe they accidentally gave some spoilers about something or like hinted at something that they weren't supposed to. But the events that took place after with them sort of breaking up.
Right.
Is interesting.
Well, if you need a new fun duo podcast,
we're here. We have not played the game.
If you want a blonde white woman and a little twink, you've come to the right place.
Right.
New podcast for
Should
everybody.
I clip that?
Yeah, you should clip that. That'll be good. That'll be good. Clip that. We'll use that to promote ourselves. What was I even getting? Oh, other things that happened on social media. Did you see Chriselle went on a podcast? Chriselle went on a podcast and started talking shit about Danielle.
Really?
It was Danielle swore on her kids, swore on her grandkids. I could not believe it. And all the girlies are defending her. They're like, you're playing a game for money. Yeah. This isn't a little selling some properties on Netflix or whatever that show's on. They're like, you're playing a game for a lot of money.
Yeah. Do
what you need to do to win the money. You're playing you're doing a reality TV competition, babe.
Chriselle was just never really in it.
So it'll be interesting at the reunion. Sorry, we still have to go over the roundtable. I didn't mean to cut into that, but there was a lot of stuff going on social media, but They're doing a lot. I think that Carolyn and Danielle are doing a good job convincing other people to sort of go after the other.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I spelled some names wrong. Anyway. It's interesting. I wrote that it's interesting. Danielle and Carolyn are the names out there, but nobody seems strong either way. Like, there's nobody really pushing the other one. They're both. It just seems to be that's the consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan does not want to have to pick a side in any of this. He's friends with both of them, and he's scared of having to do so. And I said, "Work, Carolyn." Carolyn is working her life story on Dylan right now.
Yeah.
Hard.
Oh God, this actually like made me. Well, like, first of all, valid, but also
So,
knowing that you're a traitor and doing all this, like, that kind of made me.
I was like, if you have the card, play it, I guess. But, well, I mean, like, do what you need to do to survive. But also, I was like, it's getting messy, but messy in such a good way. I was like, oh, I just, the show is too good. Things were going smoothly into the roundtable until. Can I say this?
Yeah.
But if I say it, can you, like, is there a way for you to bleep something I say? Like, leave this in, but, like, don't cut it out.
Okay, I'll try.
Or you can just cut it, whatever. I wrote, everything was going smoothly until Ivor opened his big ass mouth.
Yeah. I'll work
I just
with
think
that.
it would be funnier if you left that in and bleeped it, then cut it. Or you just left the fact you laughing after. Just cut out the cursing part.
I'll cut out.
Open his, and
I'll
end
cut
with
out-
me saying mouth.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, I'll leave the.
Well, you figured it out in post. He opened his mouth and he was like, Carolyn, Danielle said your name. And I was like, no, I wanted it to be like subtle going into the round table. But then he just added it and I was like, oh.
Well, wait, didn't he say that Carolyn said Danielle's name?
Oh, maybe it was one or the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so annoyed by it. I was like, Ivar, God, you
Let
can't
them work it out themselves.
work out in the remix. You can't do anything.
Why is this the time you start talking?
Why would a man be there?
Why would a man be there?
A man be there. Ugh. Made me mad. Let's go into the round table.
Yeah.
I'll go quick. Sorry, y'all. The let's go to
Power down.
Alan.
Short circuit.
Alan had a quote, and I was like, "This is hitting too close to home right now." He said he's goes off on his intro monologue, and he
about
ends it with
democracy.
a fate worse than death. Democracy. Oh my God.
Alan.
Time and place, and you did it at my birthday dinner.
You did it at my birthday dinner.
So did Ivar. At the birthday dinner. There's had to connect sort of the storylines.
Yep.
There is a deep silence. You could cut the tension with a knife. Everybody is Danielle and Carolyn are staring each other down hard.
Yeah.
It is silent. Ivar opens up and opens it up and provides nothing. He says, "I believe that it has to be two women."
And I hate that he's right. I
know, because then it's like, oh my God, he's gonna get the satisfaction, and I don't want him to.
No.
Ugh. He posts that out there, and then instantly, Carolyn and Danielle start going after each other. Basically, Carolyn starts immediately with Danielle, and starts with this lie about Brittany. And I love that Danielle is stating 2 toes down. She don't give a fuck that it was said in the turret. The thing here is, I think what makes Carolyn the most upset is that things that happen in the turret should be removed from the actual game, is where Carolyn's coming from. Is like, what I say in the turret should not count. Danny said IDGAF. I don't care. You said it and it's getting put on the table. I don't care. Which I'm like, okay, girl, be messy. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I live for it. It was too good. Danielle says, and then they start going back and forth. Danielle lets Carolyn talk a little bit, and Danielle puts that venom in after. Danielle says, "I am talking directly to you. You and I are having a one-on-one right now. We are going to get this off the table. It is ending tonight." Too good. To control it, Danielle. Control it.
I want to like Danielle. But at my core, I do not.
I'm obsessed with her.
Specifically in this game. I have not seen Big Brother.
Right.
Whatever. But I did not like her comment about Carolyn when she's like, Carolyn, like, you just keep acting dumb. And she, like, compared Carolyn to Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
I was like, that is rude. That has nothing to do with this. Like,
It was, yeah.
that is not the same thing.
Okay.
And also, no, I don't believe that Carolyn has been acting dumb.
No, I don't either. I just think
so
I just think that part of that is Danielle not fully knowing who Carolyn is. Like, had you watched her season of Survivor, you would know that this is just Carolyn. Like, she's not acting.
Yeah.
She is just like this.
And you know who is? Oh, I'm so sorry. And I recognize that Danielle did do, like, she set good traps for Carolyn this episode, but I'm also just frustrated that I feel like Danielle has been such a terrible traitor this entire time, doing the most obvious things, but then Carolyn is the one that ends up, like, going home over it.
I've had a real shift on Danielle. I think at the start of the season, I wrote this at the end of my notes, that if you were to tell me after episode 1 that Danielle would be the last standing original traitor, I would not have believed you. But I have, the last couple episodes, I've had a real shift on her, I think. And I feel like part of this is that at the end of the day, I am liking the TV that Danielle is providing. I like that she's being messy and she's getting away with it. I just think it's too funny.
I hear that, but I think I'm just so over the, like, fake shaking crying.
And see, part of, like...
And I can't see past that. And then, like, she does great, like, she does things that I think are good moves, but then she couples it by making, like, comments like the Forrest Gump thing. And, like, I feel like it's just one step forward, 2 steps back with you for me.
Yeah, I think where I've gone is that I have reached past it to the point where I'm now, like, it's just, to me, I'm like, it's just it's a TV show where they're putting on a performance. Like,
and I don't like her performance.
Yeah, and see, part of me is like, to me, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I love, like, when after Carolyn leaves and she, like, gets on the floor.
I literally wrote that down. I'm like, get off the floor. I'm so sick of you.
See, I am on the opposite end of this, but where I'm not sitting here, I'm not like, oh, that was the perfect response. Like, I think that was bad. Like, I'm like, oh, that was bad. But I've gone to the point where I'm sitting here frustrated with her bad performance, to the point where I'm like, girl, like, you being so over the top is so unserious to me, and to me it's like silly. I'm like, you're being silly right now.
I'm just not able to see the humor in it at this point.
Right.
Because I get so annoyed. Even before Carolyn went home, every time I have to see her shaking and crying, and, like, I just can't handle it. And I'm in the Traitors, I'm not a Danielle fan, and I'll die on that hill at this point in time.
And you know what, Danielle,
and that's okay.
If you ever want to replace Maddie on the pod, let me know. We can
over a show that's not even Survivor.
we can have a little one-on-one. You and me, you love having one-on-one convos. You and me can have a one-on-one convo. No, I think and you know what, and that is the amazing thing about having a podcast like this. We can just agree to disagree, and that's okay.
Right. But I will hold it against you. No, I'm kidding. Oh.
Hey, back there. Danielle set Carolyn up. There's just a lot going on. They're going after each other bad. Carolyn is making insane faces as she does. They're calling each other liars. It was a battle. And I think the build up to this was worth it. I think ultimately the battle that we ended up getting was worth the season arc that we got.
Yeah.
Carolyn versus Danny. I think it was worth the time, and I was very happy with this roundtable. Not happy Carolyn went home, because ultimately I would say that Carolyn was playing a better game than Danielle up until this point. Mm-hmm. It just was one day where she slipped up, and honestly, that can just be enough. I mean,
especially after the coffin theory not playing out, like, they had nothing.
You can argue that the same thing happened to to Bob the Drag Queen. He just slipped up with one sentence, and that just ended up being his downfall. And so just one thing can flip your game, but it happens. We go around the table. It's ends up basically being between Carolyn and Danielle. Dolores and Tom end up voting for each other, and I'm like,
Which,
guys, I need y'all.
what am I missing?
Right. I'm like, there's something going on behind the scenes that I just need to get my hands on. So that was interesting. I was like, I really don't care at this point. Dylan ends up being the deciding vote, which is so juicy, I think. Oh, for Carolyn, when Danielle votes for Carolyn, Carolyn rolls her eyes and says, "Good job." They end up making Dylan the deciding vote, and he ends up voting for Carolyn. It's sad. I'm sad to see. I'm happy. I know you're not happy about it. I like that Danielle's still in the game. I'm excited to see the mess that she brings. I'm sad that Carolyn had to be. I wish they could have worked it out on the remix. Like, I really do wish that they could have been the last two standing. Like, that would have been iconic to me. But Danny just got the better of Carolyn this episode, specifically this episode. We get a thank you Jesus from Danny as she finds out that she's safe. Carolyn gives a very unique speech. Lets them know she's been a traitor from the beginning. The girls are gagged.
Yeah.
Danny gave the performance of her life on the floor.
I cannot stand her. I'm so sorry. I really.
Guys, I'm just like, it's just silly to me. I'm like, girl, you are doing too much. Get off the floor right now. Like, why are you shaking on the floor? And see, this is like, I think we have the same thought on it. Like, both of us are like, it's too much. But
Yeah.
It's too much for me in a good way. It's too much for you in a bad way.
I think I just don't like her performance. And it's not even just in this or like whenever, but it's even, maybe I don't get it because well, first of all, I'm not Danielle.
Right.
And I don't understand all her connections with people and whatever. But I feel like she's just constantly crying. Like, also, I don't know if she's playing it up even in her confessionals where it's just her, but like the crying over other people.
She did
like
in this episode in the confessional. Ron and I looked at each other and we went, "Ooh, that just made us cringe a little bit." I can't exactly remember. She did like a hand gesture or something, and I was like, I'm not into it. And I'm not saying like I don't like Danielle the person. I don't like her in this. And that's something we discuss a
Traitors.
lot on this podcast. Is when we're talking about people, we are specifically talking about them as a reality TV character and not who they are as people. In this
specific show.
Yes.
Because I don't have context for Big Brother.
And I do think that is probably a major thing is that I do have context, and I'm seeing this and I'm like, oh my god, it's just giving Big Brother. And you just don't have that pinpoint.
I just cannot stand her at this point in time.
Right. They give Danny her 10s. They're talking. But Danielle's not leaving this with no blood on her hands. Gabby very quickly is like that. What just happened is giving Boston Rob versus Bob the Drag Queen.
And Tom's like, oh my god, it is.
So it's being set up a very specific way. And I think that is going to be very telling going into this next episode. We end the episode off, and Danielle gets an ultimatum. She gets to pick one person, and then that person either has to become a traitor or they get murdered. And she ends up picking Brittany. And Brittany ends up in her confessional. She's like, I hope the traitor's not Danielle, because if Danielle just picked me for this, it would have been the most obvious thing she could have done. And I think that is a perfect end to the episode.
Me too.
The most obvious thing Danielle could have done.
You know what would be crazy? Mm-hmm. In the end, if Brittany gets all the money.
And that's what I'm saying, is like, if Brittany's able to turn this around on Danielle again.
Well, and we even see, so Danielle, we hear on and on again about how, Brittany is her number one, all this stuff. But then we got a confessional from Brittany being like, well, maybe Danielle is a traitor, and like maybe I'll have to vote her out. And she didn't seem too upset about it.
No.
And I feel like Brittany feels more game focused than emotional Danielle over every relationship.
It's just interesting because you feel like you would feel like the positions would be swapped based on the story, right? Because in Big Brother Reindeer Games, Brittany is the one that back. That's so unserious, is it not?
In Big Brother Reindeer Games,
Brittany was the one that backstabbed Danielle. And so you would think it would be Brittany consistently vying for her forgiveness.
Yeah.
But now Danielle is like, I cannot backstab Brittany. But we talked about this last episode. Brittany's gone through some pretty bad backstabs in her reality TV career, so who knows? But
well, now I have. Never mind.
Say it.
No, it's fine.
Say it.
Well, now I kind of want. I need to get over the Danielle thing. I was like, oh.
You want to see Brittany backstab Danielle again?
Yeah. I need to see. I didn't get to see that play out.
Right.
Anyways,
thank you all for watching, for joining us on this long. Sorry, guys, I'm so long-winded. I can't see how long we've been going because it cut off halfway through. But
we're at an hour 21,
which I think is fun for 2 episodes.
I think
except
so too.
You fully covered your episode in maybe 20-30 minutes, and I took like an hour. But it's okay. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel you are currently watching on, Making Fire Podcast. Follow us on our socials, Instagram and TikTok, y'all, at Making Fire Pod.
TikTok is on the TikTok.
Up. Y'all need to follow us now before we get big, because y'all, we're about to blow up. And you can't even say that on an airplane
anymore. And hopefully
anymore.
not literally.
Literally. We sort of both. Anyway, follow us. We'll see you next week. Our 2 episodes coming out in the same week. We'll see you in a day, maybe a couple hours. Who knows? We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Smooches.